Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about something that has fueled human progress, healed hearts, and shattered barriers. The belief that nothing is impossible. You may hear those words and think, sure, but not for me. Or that sounds nice, but life doesn't work like that. But let me tell you, those doubts, they're just fear in disguise. And fear, while loud, doesn't have to lead. The first truth about achieving the impossible is that it starts with vulnerability. And I know that word can make people squirm. Vulnerability has a way of bringing up images of being exposed, of standing in front of others with no armor, no shield, no mask. It feels like something we're supposed to avoid at all cost, like something that makes us weak or incapable. But here's the thing, vulnerability is where everything begins. It's not the enemy, it's the foundation of courage. When you think about anything worth doing, starting a new job, sharing a bold idea, pursuing a dream, it's almost always wrapped in uncertainty. You don't know how it will turn out. You don't know if you'll succeed or fall flat on your face. And that's what makes vulnerability so powerful. It's the willingness to step into that space of uncertainty, to take action, even when you can't guarantee the outcome. Think about it. Every time you've admired someone's bravery, what you were really witnessing was their vulnerability. The artist putting their work into the world, not knowing if anyone will love it. The person saying, I love you first, not knowing if the words will be returned. The leader standing up and admitting, I don't have all the answers, but I'll figure it out. Vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of incredible strength. The thing about vulnerability is that it asks us to risk being seen, really seen. And yes, that's terrifying, but it's also where connection, creativity, and growth live. When you let yourself show up as you are, with all your imperfections, you open yourself to the possibility of being surprised by what you're capable of. You start to discover that the thing you've been afraid to do is the very thing that will bring you closer to the impossible. And let's be clear, vulnerability doesn't mean recklessness. It doesn't mean charging ahead without preparation or thought. It means being honest about where you are and brave enough to take the next step, even if your voice shakes or your knees feel like jelly. It's standing in the discomfort of not knowing and deciding that the possibility of growth is worth the risk of failure. So if you feel scared or unsure, if you find yourself doubting whether you have what it takes to achieve something big, know this. Vulnerability is not a barrier to your success, it's the doorway. And walking through it is the most courageous thing you can do. The idea of progress being tied to imperfection can feel counterintuitive. After all, many of us grow up believing that we have to get everything exactly right to succeed. We're taught to aim for perfection, to have the perfect plan, to make no mistakes along the way. But here's the truth. Perfection isn't just unattainable, it's often the very thing that holds us back from making progress in the first place. When you think about trying something new, there's always that voice in the back of your head saying, what if I mess up, or what if it's not good enough? That fear of imperfection can paralyze us. It makes us hesitate, overthink, and sometimes not even try. But the funny thing about progress is that it doesn't demand perfection. It only asks for action. Small, consistent, imperfect action. Think about a baby learning to walk. They wobble, they fall, they get back up, and they try again. Not once does a baby stop and think, well, I fell 3 times today, so maybe walking just isn't for me. No, they keep going. They learn from each fall. They adapt their movements, and eventually they take their first steps. Progress, not perfection, gets them there. This applies to us at every stage of life. When you strive for perfection, you're setting yourself up to be stuck. You tell yourself, I can't move forward until I have all the answers, until the timing is right, until everything is flawless. But progress doesn't work that way. Progress happens when you show up, make an effort, and allow yourself to be messy, to make mistakes, to get it wrong sometimes. Some of the most incredible breakthroughs in history were born out of imperfection. The light bulb wasn't invented in a single perfect attempt. It took countless failures, each one teaching a valuable lesson that brought the inventor closer to success. Mistakes are not the enemy. They are part of the process. They're how we learn, how we grow, and how we eventually achieve what once felt impossible. When you embrace imperfection, you give yourself permission to try. You allow yourself to experiment, to explore, and to discover new possibilities. It's in those moments of imperfection that you find creativity and innovation. You stop being afraid of falling short and start focusing on what you can do right now, even if it's not perfect. So the next time you catch yourself waiting for everything to be just right before you take that first step, remember this: the perfect moment doesn't exist. But progress is always available. It's in every small action, every attempt, every lesson learned along the way. It doesn't ask for perfection. It just asks that you keep going. Achieving the seemingly impossible isn't something you can do on your own. No matter how determined, talented, or resilient you are, the journey to success requires others. This can feel counter to what we're often told. Society tends to celebrate individual triumphs, the lone hero who pulls themselves up by sheer grit and determination. But that narrative is misleading. Behind every success story, there's almost always a network of people, mentors, friends, supporters, challengers, who helped make it possible. Being part of a community isn't just helpful, it's essential. Humans are wired for connection. We thrive in relationships where we feel seen, understood, and supported. When you face challenges or doubt yourself, it's the people around you who can remind you of your strength and keep you moving forward. They provide the encouragement you need when your energy is low and the perspective you lack when you're too close to a problem to see the bigger picture. But community isn't just about having cheerleaders in your corner. It's also about having people who will challenge you, who will hold you accountable, and who will push you to grow. These aren't always the easiest relationships, but they're some of the most valuable. They force you to confront your blind spots, think differently, and reach beyond what you thought was possible. And let's not forget that community works both ways. It's not just about receiving support, but also about giving it. When you invest in others, whether it's through mentorship, collaboration, or simply showing up for someone in a moment of need, you create bonds that strengthen everyone involved. Supporting others reminds you of your own strength and capability. It reinforces the idea that we're all in this together and that collective effort can move mountains. Building and leaning on a community also takes courage. It requires vulnerability. Asking for help or admitting that you can't do it all on your own might feel uncomfortable. But this openness is what allows genuine connection to flourish. It's through these connections that you find not only support, but also inspiration, ideas, and opportunities you might never have discovered alone. Think about the times when you felt truly unstoppable. Chances are those moments weren't spent in isolation. They were likely shared with others, with people who believed in you, stood by you, and celebrated your victories as if they were their own. That's the power of community. It lifts you when you can't lift yourself. It reminds you that even on your hardest days, you're never truly alone. The road to achieving big, bold dreams can be long and challenging. There will be times when you doubt yourself, when the obstacles feel insurmountable, and when giving up feels like the easiest option. In those moments, your community is your anchor. They're the ones who will remind you why you started and give you the strength to keep going. So don't underestimate the power of the people around you. Find your community, build it with intention, nurture it with care. And when you do, you'll realize that what once felt impossible isn't just achievable, it's inevitable. The stories we tell ourselves shape everything we do. They influence how we see the world, how we approach challenges, and most importantly, how we see ourselves. These internal narratives are powerful. They can inspire us to take bold steps, or they can hold us back, keeping us stuck in a loop of self-doubt and fear. If you want to achieve what feels impossible, one of the most transformative things you can do is rewrite the story you've been telling yourself. We all carry stories in our minds about who we are, what we're capable of, and what's possible for us. These stories are often formed early in life. Maybe someone told you you're not smart enough, or you'll never be good at that. Or perhaps you faced failures that made you conclude, I just can't do this. Over time, these experiences turn into beliefs, and those beliefs turn into the scripts we live by. Without even realizing it, we start to treat them as truths. But here's the secret. They're not truths. They're just stories. And like any story, they can be revised. You are not bound by the narratives you've carried with you up to this point. You have the power to question them, challenge them, and rewrite them into something that serves you instead of holding you back. The first step in rewriting your story is recognizing that you're the author. You are not a passive character in your own life. You get to decide what your story says. Start by paying attention to the narratives running through your mind when you face a challenge and think, I can't do this. Stop and ask yourself, is that really true? Or is it just a story I've been telling myself? Often you'll find that the limits you've accepted as reality are nothing more than assumptions you've never questioned. Once you've identified those limiting stories, it's time to rewrite them. Instead of, I can't do this, try, I can't do this yet. That one word, yet, can change everything. It shifts the narrative from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. It acknowledges that while you might not have the skills or knowledge right now, you're capable of learning and growing. Rewriting your story doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending that everything is easy. It's about reframing the way you see those challenges. Instead of seeing failure as proof that you're not good enough, see it as evidence that you're trying, that you're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. Instead of seeing obstacles as roadblocks, see them as opportunities to learn and adapt. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about creating a mindset that empowers you to take action. When you change your internal narrative, you change the way you show up in the world. You start to see possibilities where before you only saw dead ends. You begin to approach challenges with curiosity instead of fear. And when you do, so does your team, the organization, and the bigger mission. And here's the most amazing part. As you rewrite your internal story, the external story of your life starts to change too. The more you believe in your ability to grow and overcome, the more you'll find yourself taking risks, trying new things, and achieving goals that once felt out of reach. Think about it this way. Every great story has moments of struggle, moments when the protagonist doubts themselves or faces what seems like an insurmountable obstacle. But those moments don't define the story. What defines it is how the protagonist chooses to respond. Will they let the struggle defeat them, or will they rise above it and keep moving forward? You are the protagonist of your own story, and you have the power to choose how it unfolds. The next chapter is unwritten. The pen is in your hands. So what story will you tell? Will it be one of limitations and fear, or one of courage and possibility? The choice is yours, and when you choose to rewrite the story, you'll discover that nothing is truly impossible. So, when we think about success, we often picture the final moment, the trophy raised high, the promotion accepted, the goal achieved. That image of victory can be intoxicating, and it's easy to believe that true joy only comes at the end, once everything has fallen into place. But here's the truth. If your happiness is tied only to the destination, you're missing out on the magic of the journey. Joy isn't something you find once you've reached the top of the mountain. It's something you cultivate in every step along the way. The climb is where life happens. It's in the effort, the struggle, and even the setbacks that you discover who you are and what you're capable of. When you set out to achieve something big, you're not just working toward an external goal. You're growing internally. You're building resilience, learning new skills, and uncovering strengths you didn't know you had. That process is where the real transformation occurs, and there's so much joy to be found in that growth if you're open to it. But it's easy to lose sight of this. When the climb gets hard, when the obstacles seem endless and the summit feels impossibly far away, it's natural to become frustrated, impatient, or even disheartened. You might find yourself thinking, I'll be happy when I get there, or this will all be worth it once I've succeeded. Those thoughts are understandable, but they rob you of the opportunity to find joy in the here and now. Joy in the climb comes from embracing the small wins, the quiet moments, and the progress you're making, no matter how incremental it feels. It's the sense of pride you feel after overcoming a challenge, the laughter that bubbles up when something unexpected happens, and the satisfaction of knowing you're moving forward, even if the pace is slower than you'd like. It's the camaraderie you share with others who are climbing their own mountains, the lessons you learn when things don't go as planned, and the deep fulfillment that comes from simply giving your all. One of the most important things you can do is learn to appreciate the present moment, even when it's difficult. Instead of focusing solely on the peak, take a moment to look around and notice the view where you are. Celebrate the effort you're putting in, the courage it takes to keep going, and the person you're becoming in the process. Remember that the climb itself is what makes the summit meaningful. Without the journey, the destination wouldn't hold the same significance. This mindset shift doesn't mean ignoring your goals or pretending the hard parts of the climb don't exist. It means finding balance, acknowledging the challenges, while also seeking out the joy and meaning in the process. It's about recognizing that every step, no matter how small, is part of your story and deserves to be honored. And here's something remarkable. When you find joy in the climb, the destination becomes even more rewarding. Achieving your goal isn't just about reaching a point on a map. It's about looking back and knowing you embraced every part of the journey, every stumble, every breakthrough, every moment of growth. The climb is your life. It's where your character is forged, where your values are tested, and where your dreams take shape. Don't rush through it. And don't wait for the summit to celebrate. Find joy in the sweat, the effort, the unexpected detours, and even the missteps. Because when you do, you'll realize that the joy of the climb isn't just preparation for the joy of success. It's success itself. Every step you take is proof that you're moving closer to something extraordinary. But more importantly, it's proof that you're living fully, embracing the process and discovering the kind of joy that no outcome can ever take away. That's the joy that truly matters, and it's yours to claim right now, in this very moment. When we talk about nothing is impossible, what we're really talking about is the strength of the human spirit, the courage to dream big, to fail, to get up, and to keep going. You might not feel ready now, but you don't have to be. All you need to do is start. Because the impossible, it's just the possible waiting for you to show up. Thank you.